Good evening, gamers, and welcome to another high-octane night of fun and excitement on Games with Dave. Tonight, I'm joined by my friend Scott McDonald of Wasteland Degenerates fame. Scott is currently running a super awesome campaign right now over on Kickstarter for Wasteland Degenerates Hardcover, which doubles the size and content of the Jumper Cable edition that I have here, that we all know and love. So drop it into low gear and cruise along the wasteland with us eating quesadillas. And that's an inside joke that no one's going to get from earlier today. But Scott, how are you, man? How have you been?
Oh, I've been great. I started this campaign. This is I think year 3 of total of working on Wasteland Degenerates stuff. And last year I did the Jumper Cable edition on BackerKit, and I got a lot of support on there, but it was all that allowed me to start this, Wasteland Degenerates hardcover edition campaign strong. And we've gotten so much support, and I'm so humbled that, people seem to really like it. But, I've got a lot of work to do to get the last half of the book done, and paying my artists, what they're worth, and looking scornfully at any AI. No AI. And yeah, and like getting the add-ons done. Working with great people that I haven't really worked with before, like Brian Collin of Vastgrim fame. So it's gonna be great. We're the future is bright for Wasteland Degenerates.
Yeah, it is looking really bright. And I mean, wow, congrats. I mean, you funded in what, 9 hours? I think it was
Nine
around there.
hours. Matthew, my artist, his chainsaw funded like 2 hours, and he was like, Scott, do you really think that we should put down, funded in 9 hours on the banner? Is that really impressive? And I'm like, you little jerk, just because you funded faster doesn't mean it's not impressive that we made $10,000 on the first day.
Oh man, that's too much.
Matthew's great. I have no complaints about him, but he was showing his privilege for having a slightly more popular Kickstarter.
Oh, I'll have to get him back on here and give him a hard time for you. He's great. Um, so the hardcover edition, I mean, what's this all about? I mean, I've gotten love the Jumper Cable edition. And aside from it, the fact that this is a super sexy hardcover book, why should anyone that's on the fence that might have the Jumper Cable edition grab the hardcover edition?
Well, that's a great question, and when I did the Jumper Cable edition, my thought was that the I just wanted to get the minimum necessary to like make characters, and get them out into the wasteland, let people play their cyborg game out in the wasteland. And but like all along I had the hardcover done, in writing. It's not super sexy yet. It's all the art is undone, but the hardcover is going to have the Cataclysm system, which replaces miserable headlines or the miseries.
Yep.
And I'll get into that in a little bit. But it's going to have like NPCs, like strangers. In the Morkborg book, there's some henchmen that you can get. Basically, it's that, but people you might find along the side of the road, hitching across the wasteland. I'm going to have so many more monsters. Like, I've got 9 factions worth of like groups and other types of creatures. And in the Jumper Cable edition, I just had the minimum of a few monsters, maybe a couple that my collaborators made. I know Brian made a giant kaiju creature that I was like, oh, I didn't know I needed the kaiju, and he was like, yes, you did. But I've also got I've also got gigantic mutants. I've got evil wizards, the Tothomancers. I've got the factions of enemies, like the Federal Remnants. They have tanks. Then there's the mutant clans. They're all the people that got mutated in the same way when the meteors hit, and they all got mutated by space dust in like the same way, and like they became kind of found family. As like if everybody around you became tree people, because of the weird space dust, then you probably would hang out with them more because they're the only people who can really understand you.
Right.
So that's kind of the origin of the mutant societies in Wasteland Degenerates. They're not like actual like genetic families. They're found genetic families as they all got the same mutations. And there's like the Eisenclaves, which are the like the big business people that founded their own cities in the wasteland, with walls and mercenaries and whatnot. And the Postalists, who are I think the Postalists are everybody's favorites. They're the religious fanatics that worship the postal system, and they're even though they're at war with the Federal Remnants and the Enclaves, they are when they're delivering the mail, they're under a treaty of truce, because everyone needs their mail, even in the wasteland. And then there's the gas hogs, who are like the Valhalla guys, from Mad Max. And then there's the non-human creatures, like the 2 kinds of zombies. There's like the spreader zombies, who are much like the zombies from The Last of Us, although I have legally distinct aspects to them. And I actually make jokes about that in the book. So I think I fall under parody for those. But the other kind of zombies are the ones where wasps lay eggs in your skull, and a pupa like puppets your brain. And the special edition, the Rift edition books that people have been buying on the Kickstarter are there's a picture of a wasp and like a skull with a hole in it, and people are like, I don't understand what the significance is of this wasp. I'm like, well, you will once you get the game.
Yeah, that sounds like horrifying.
Yeah. There's a reason that I added. They were one of the first monsters I added to the solo games, like Enter the Dismal Armory, because they will be an iconic monster that people will dread fighting, because basically when they hit you, they could drain your knowledge stat, and once you go below -3 knowledge, you have basically been lobotomized,
Right.
and you are now a puppet for a bug.
Oh man. No, thank you. So you mentioned the Rift Edition. Um, for anyone that may tune in the next 5 days before this ends, it's hasn't seen the Kickstarter page, which if you haven't, there is a link in the description for you to click on and back this.
Mhm.
Um, can you tell folks about the different pledge levels?
Yes. Well, let me go look at those so I remember what they are. Um, let's see here. The first pledge level is the donation only, of course. That's the one where you don't need any reward, but you want to support me anyways. I took the unprecedented action of adding a reward to the donation only tier. If you if you donate only, you still get a copy of Enter the Dismal Armory. Um,
Nice.
yeah, I mean it's a free download, so I'm hoping that people are impressed enough to give me free money. But don't tell anybody that. Um, then there's the digital collection. Uh, I actually surprised Matthew on this because the digital collection is less than half the cost of the hardcover book. It's $20, but it contains every digital item that I have. So that's the Wasteland Degenerates, hardcover core file will be there. The Enter the Dismal Armory, Blood and the Bleak Road, the great poster and mini adventure that we did, the character and vehicle sheets, the printer friendly character and vehicle sheets, the road grid, and all of the digital stretch goals, which that is also going to include um, Rad City Music Brawl and the dumpster drivers. So basically everything you get for $20.
Dude, that
Um,
is cool.
and I think I might have lost some physical sales because people were like, "Well, I just can just back at $20 and get everything, and then and just play off my laptop." That's fine. I respect that everybody has their own economics that they're dealing with, um, and I want to if somebody is fine with just digital stuff, and I want to give them as much value as possible. Um, so that's the digital collection, and all of the physical items also come with the digital collection. So it's not just that that tier gets all of the digital stuff. I you know I don't value digital stuff very much. Like when I'm getting a Kickstarter a campaign, if somebody offers digital as a separate tier, I don't get it. I don't need that. I want a physical book. I am a huge nerd for physical books,
Yep.
and I want to get that. Um, so moving on, jumper cable edition. You just showed everybody it, did you not? Um, yes, that. So at the $25 level, so only $5 more than the digital collection, uh, people get the physical copy of the jumper cable edition. But in addition, they also get the entire digital collection, which includes the digital file of the hardcover. So even if you buy the limited, just the player's handbook version, you still get the full book. And this is, again, I have boxes and boxes of these guys, so I'm okay with this, but I want to be cognizant of people's economy, and I want people to have something, even if like they can't afford a $45 hardcover book. So I figure, why not? I've still got these jumper cable editions. I can use them as well as the digital collection to get people on the same page, as it were. Next up is the hardcover edition, and that's $45. This is the version that you want to see on the shelf next to Morkborg, Cyborg, Pirate Borg, Corp Borg, all of the other Borgs that have a hardcover edition.
There are a lot of them, man.
There are a
It
lot of
is
them now, and I have a
unreal.
lot of them, and I've spent so much money on them.
Yep.
But it'll be worth it once we have it, and like the artwork on the cover is just so good. Matthew did a cover for us, that he kind of likened to the cover of Cyborg. And I looked at it and I was like, well, that's great, but can we make the character on the cover a lady? Because we don't have a lot of Borgs with a lady on the cover. And he's like, okay, yeah. And he's like, did his little scribbles. And sure enough, that became Janet, who became a big star in my backer kit campaign as I was writing fiction about her. And I know that some of my backers are not happy that I haven't written more fiction for this campaign, but man, I'm busy. So yeah, but we redid that original cover, and the new picture of Janet is just so good. She's crouching in front of a car, and the car has spikes on the grill and a big old gun on top, and there's like a mutant jacking a dude in the background. It's a great cover, and it's very colorful, and I've gotten a lot of people saying, I want the Cataclysm All-In edition, which we'll talk about in a bit. But I want the original cover. I'm like, that's fair, but you'll have the choice, so you can do both. Moving on, for $60, it's the hardcover and vehicle sheet. Vehicle sheets, that's a pad of 50 character and vehicle sheets. They're double-sided, so you can put your character on the front and your sweet ride on the back.
Yeah.
I noticed that a lot of the character sheets for a lot of Borgs were only single-sided, and I'm like, well, that seems like a waste when you can have something on both sides. Let's see, and you do get the vehicle sheet at a slight discount if you get that. Then there's a Rift edition. That's the one with the wasp and the skull.
Making my forehead itch.
Yeah. And again, all of these come with the digital editions. $75 is the Rift edition, the special edition with character sheets at a significantly larger discount. $99 is retailer, and that's for 5 books and all the digital stuff. And I'm going to make sure that all the retailer people have brick and mortar stores, because I really want to see my books in brick and mortar stores.
Oh yeah.
I I live in the Twin Cities, and our best store for gaming stuff is the Source Comics and Games, and they bought like 10 copies of the book, and I found they were on a rack all together with all the stuff, and I just had to stop and take a picture because my books were on a shelf at my friendly local gaming store, and that felt just so good. So I'm hoping to sell a lot of these retailers. So far, we've sold a few. And then finally, the Cataclysm All-In Edition. And this one is special because it's $125. And if you buy everything, it's actually a slight discount. I did not do the math when I put down these prices, and now it's too late. But my loss is your gain. If you buy the Cataclysm All-In Edition, I think somebody was saying, I wanted the original cover, but when I did that, it cost $2 more, and I'm like, oh well, you don't have to do that. I will give you the choice of covers. And he's like, oh, awesome. And then he reduced his tier to his pledge to $125. And for that, you get all of the physical items, including all of the stretch goal items, nice. Physically. And that's, the Dumpster Drivers, which has, basically one-shot adventures from myself, Phil Jensen, who did Trapped Inside, Zach Goins, who's, does so much awesome work on Pirate Borg, and Brian Collin of Vastgrim. So there's that, and then Brian is going to help me with a new full-length zine adventure, which is called Rad City Music Brawl.
I love that name.
Well, I was like looking at like a concert on YouTube or something that was in Radio City Music Hall, and I thought of that pun, and I'm like, well, that I have to do something with that. And so Matthew banged out an amazing cover with some stock art of Radio City Music Hall in the background, and a couple of degenerates, one of which has a keytar with a chainsaw attached, which is just the best. But I can't wait to see what Brian does on the inside.
Man, crazy. You've unlocked some great stuff with this, like you were saying, with working with Phil, Zach, Brian, and it's fantastic. So yeah, I mean, and then folks are getting a whole other zine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I don't even know how long this is going to be, because like I have a whole story, worked out in my head, and I have like 2-3 pages written out now, but I don't know how long it's going to be, but it doesn't matter how long it's going to be, because y'all are going to get it. Y'all are going to get it.
Nice.
And I have lots of plans for other like adventures. I've got my next campaign will probably be for a kind of a block crawl, which is like a hex crawl, but it's city blocks.
Yep.
And I've got one that's going to be the racing and vehicle expansion, and I've still there's one that's just a germ in my head, and that one is a space station. I don't know if the space station crashes to Earth, or if the degenerates get up to a space station somehow. But I want to do, because like a lot of classic apocalyptic literature and movies revolve around an astronaut that comes back to Earth, when after everything has gone to hell. Like
Yep.
that's a Planet of the Apes, for example. Spoiler.
I was just about to be like, you damn dirty apes,
Yeah. But like there are so many awesome things that you can do with this setting, especially because it's got the tech level of Cyborg, but for some reason everybody is driving internal combustion engine vehicles. And there's so many stories that you can tell, like, why are they've got nuclear robots, why are they driving gas powered cars? Well, if you look at our world right now, we have a lot of energy options, but we're still driving a lot of internal combustion cars. So
that we are.
yeah. But anyways.
So I want to kind of go back to something you said, man. That's got to be like such a pinch me moment when you see your own work on the shelf of like your local game store, and you didn't hide it there to be like, let's see if anyone notices this.
Well, I found, they bought enough copies so that there was some on the shelf next to the other Borg stuff, the other Borg products, and there was one, and they were even on like the entire side of one of the spinny racks, so I was like, I got to take a picture of the spinny rack with an entire side dedicated to my stuff. But also, I went to the shelf and I pulled out, all 5 of the books that were sitting there, and they were literally right next to Pirate Borg. And seeing them on the shelf next to Pirate Borg, I had to tag Zach and Luke of Limithron, to say, hey, I'm here.
Look at me, I made it.
Yeah,
that is so cool.
Yeah, the old Mary Tyler Moore, we're gonna make it after all.
Oh man, that is too funny. All right, so one of the things I got to try not to rip my camera down. I have to tape my questions to my camera so I can actually stare at my camera and not look way over here all the time. So you mentioned earlier that there are 9 factions that you're introducing in this.
Mm-hmm.
And who would you say is the most, let's see, I always ask people, what's the hardest, what was the most fun to make? Who would you say is the most fearsome of the factions?
Well, I think that it really depends, because the Federal Remnant, like, while I kind of heap scorn on the Federal Remnant because they kind of believe in the ideals of a nation that no longer exists, but they have tanks, and they have tanks, so like you don't want to be messing with them as much as possible, and they've all got machine guns, so while you might laugh at them behind their backs, you do that behind their back. The Eisenclave, they're the capitalists. They have all the money, and they have factories and stuff, and they've got creepy black vans in almost unlimited supply. So they're pretty fearsome. The postalists, they probably read your mail, which is terrifying. Um, but I think that the actual scariest is probably the Toth, and the Toth are these beings from beyond space and time, and you can't actually fight them. And in fact, if you die, if you bring up your jumper cable edition and go to the hit point page, they there's like a little asterisk where if you go to negative hit points, you can make a deal with the Toth and come back, maybe, if you make a presence check. And so like they're in some ways they're helpful, but they're you never know what you just gave up just for making a deal with these alien entities. They're basically the Cthulhu element of the game, the unspeakable eldritch horrors. And so they've got a couple of monsters. They've got the Tothomancer, which are humans that have sold out, and they typically have weird mutant powers that they got from all the strange radiation that they're absorbing, and they usually have Toth Tech relics, which are devices that have uncanny powers. That there's one that just is called the Vanisher, where you just fire a beam and something is gone. It's gone. It's not disintegrated. It's just gone. But if you fail, if you like use these items and you fumble, you have to roll on a table that I call boot errors. And if you roll a 20 on that table, your mind is taken by the Toth, and it is replaced by the mind of one of their golems, which are called Toth golems, and they're the other monster besides the Tothomancers, and they're basically earth elemental looking guys, giant violet crystal beings. And every time you encounter one of them, they've got a mission. You roll a d6 to see what their mission is, and it's usually kill somebody or kidnap somebody. And like if it's kill somebody, it's probably the person with the least mutations, or if it's kidnap, it's like kidnap the person with the most mutations. Or their job might just be to kill everybody. And so like I get a lot of mileage out of this, this random mission table of the Toth golems. So essentially every time you meet one of these things, your day is going to be very bad because it's a very powerful creature. But if it succeeds in its mission, if it grapples the person that it's trying to kidnap, it will open a portal and go away. And if you just leave it alone, maybe you will survive. The person it's kidnapping probably is not going to appreciate that you didn't try to help them, but it's more.
Bye, Felicia.
Bye, Felicia, indeed. So, yeah, the Toth are the most terrifying ones. But then you get like the Skraelings, which are mutants that arise from the nuclear winter. All of the dust in the atmosphere, causes strange radiation that causes the people to mutate, and they're like a twisted reflection of us. Matthew wanted to know how to draw them, and I was like, well, think of in Warhammer 40K, you've got the Drukhari, the dark elf, the space dark elves. Well, imagine one of those that's like, feral and dirty and, dingy. So it's like this kind of elongated human with like, claws and
Yeah.
scraggly hair and, all that good stuff. And so that's the basic level Skraeling, which is basically a person that, became a weird mutant. But then there's Scray beasts, which are, dogs, lions, coyotes, whatnot. They're, stronger than the Skraelings. And then you get the Scray women, and it's a hard word to say, Scray women. But it's like a highwayman, but it's a Skraeling. But it's basically a centipede of arms, like human centipede sort of monstrosity with like all sorts of limbs, and it's fast enough to chase cars, and it can it's got teeth in its palms, and it's just awful.
That sounds awful.
Yeah, well, I mean, if I'm gonna do a Orkborg, I'm gonna need to make some truly awful creations.
Indeed, you do. It's kind of one with the source material. So a few times we've mentioned mutants and mutant powers.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that's one of the things you've gotten here is a D12 table of mutant powers. But which was your favorite of the complications that you made from using them? If you feel like talking about that, I don't know how much you've.
No, I like a lot of them. I like the one where you're just covered in mushrooms, and you're just covered in mushrooms, and like you emit spores and whatnot, but and you like risk turning your friends into zombies. But no, I think my favorite one. I'm actually gonna have to think about this because it's been a while since I've looked at these. While I think about this, I am going to talk up the two new classes that are in
yes.
So there are two new classes. Like there's the original 6 classes, but when you're offering a new product, people want more crunchy bits, and I'm all about the crunchy bits, of course. But the class that I really like is the Genetic Desperado, which is essentially the mutant PC class, and they get to roll on a special table to have a mutant power that isn't on the regular mutant power table. And let me just read some of the special mutant powers that they get. There's the Green Monarch that have skin like wood. There is Cancerous Regeneration. Basically, they heal, but they're like covered in cancer. There's Beast Mode. There's claws and fangs. Internal Inferno, which is they are filled with fire. Winged Marauder. You can fly. And then there's the Cartilaginous Skulker, which are the ones that can fit through small spaces, and kind of disjoint and like squeeze through like holes like a horror movie monster.
They start climbing out of your TV towards you. And
No, no. The other new class is the Unleashed Sapients, which is a Radborg. They're my Android equivalents. Radiological algorithm deterministic Boolean organism, or Radborg. And essentially they are nuclear robots. They have benefits, like they don't die of starvation, and they don't get rad sickness or mutations or complications. But they have cool, like they're all built for some purpose. Like some of them are nannies, some of them are first responder medicine. Some of them just have like digging shovels for hands. So like instead of carrying things in their hands, they've got shovels, which are very dangerous. But anyways, I have my document open now, and I'm going to look at the complications. Let's see here. Let's see. Mutations. Okay, so I think my favorite mutation itself is the Darkling Twin, where you take a D3 damage and a gnarled conjoined twin bursts out of your body to help in like a combat. And it's got the amount of hit points that you lost when it was created. And,
oh, man.
And if it dies, you lose a hit point permanently.
Oh, man.
But it can rejoin you. But let's see. I think the most horrifying of the complications is the stinging parasites, where you have like a cloud of gnats and nettles that stab people. Or maybe the eye growth, that eyes grow in weird places on your body. Let's see, boneless, you wobble but you don't fall down. Or the fruit basket, where fruits grow on you and your friends can eat them.
Hey, I'll take that banana off you.
Yeah.
So you're less than 600 away from the new road grids, and you are slowly creeping up on the final stretch goal of the GM screen. And I think you'll hit it, because you've done well and should continue to do well. What are you most excited about with both of those final stretch goals?
Well, the new road grid, road grid 2, Electric Boogaloo. The people like the original road grid. I kind of created it as a lark. I wasn't sure what to add as a stretch goal for the old backer kick campaign, so I added a kind of a little mat that you can put your Hot Wheels cars on, and just track your road combat that way. But Road Grid 2 is going to be like the really dangerous locations that you're driving through. Specifically, there's the spore colony, which is like the spore colony that has like the zombie mushrooms. And so like if you hit something in the spore colony road grid, as you're driving through, you risk releasing spores and getting infected. And if you get infected, you have to roll a die to see what part of your body got the spore. And unless you cut it off, then you might turn into a zombie. And I imagine if you're doing that while you're driving, that might cause some exciting adventures just by itself. Um, and then if you flip it over, you're going to see the red forest. Now, the red forest is the red trees that grow up around the rift that splits the country in Wasteland Degenerates, and the rift, has like this red glow coming out of it, and horrifying creatures like the wasps, the Ampulex wasps, come from this rift. And so if you're driving through the red forest, of course, the risk is that you will disturb a hive of ruby wasps. And if you get stung by these wasps, if it gets you in the head, then you could just become a nice little breeding ground for the awful pupa of the wasp. So essentially, this is the road grid that will be the final chase scene in like a campaign, I imagine. Is like you're trying to flee the rift, or you're trying to get out of the infested mushroom territory. So that's the road grid that we're almost hitting. But the GM screen, I mean, everyone's seen the Morkborg GM screen. That's iconic. It's got fantastic art, and it's got all the useful tables. I have a lot of tables in Wasteland Degenerates, and one of the things I added with the Jumper Cable edition was like a rules reference card. I think that was Matthew's idea, even. And rules reference card is great, but it's just like a double-sided. Yeah, I mean, we were able to add a lot of rules on that thing. I didn't know how Matthew did that, but having an actual GM screen with Matthew Mislinski art on one side, and all of the crazy rules necessary on the other, like that is how you make it in the role-playing business. Is if you have if you have a GM screen. I don't know any other way to say it. That's how you do the "we're gonna make it after all" song.
And it will be beautiful because Matt does such killer work. And like, if you've got Wasteland Degenerates, a Jumper Cable edition, just flip through that, and it is just such stellar artwork. It's
Yeah.
unreal.
I will say one thing is was telling you before the show that I gave a copy to my doctor, and he's not a gamer, but some of his nurses were gamers, and they just flipped through it, and they were like saying, "Oh, this is so cool! Can I borrow this?" And he's like, "Well, I'm not a gamer, so yes."
That's awesome. I feel like we've really kind of covered everything. One thing I did have a question about, though, is I was looking at your inspirations,
Mm-hmm.
and I've never heard of this before, but was Go Go Girls of the Apocalypse.
Victor Gershler, yes.
Yeah. What is the synopsis on that book? I'm going to have to pick it up because the title had me.
Oh yeah, yeah. So my stepfather, he passed away in 2017, but he was a science fiction and fantasy book reviewer. So he got boatloads of free books, in the mail to review. and and he could only read a certain number of them, and he would give books that he couldn't read to me and say, hey, can you let me know what you think of this. And so one of those books was Go Go Girls of the Apocalypse, and by Victor Gershler. And it's basically a post-apocalyptic story where a guy, he was, I think he was like a high school teacher or something like that. So he knew a lot of things that were handy to know after society collapses. But he comes upon the recreation of society. Like, people are using cash, but it all comes from a basically a go-go club, like a burlesque stripper club, whatever. And basically society is being recreated based on the vice industry. and it's just a fun silly book, where we think about the ways that humans, like, we can think about the ideal ways that humans would come back from an apocalypse. Like, we would all preserve our knowledge, and we would and we would come back from the ashes, whatever. But in reality, we would probably come back based on strip clubs, because we're not all that great. No offense to anybody who works at a strip club; they're all fine individuals. But the industry is kind of where humanity is at sometimes.
It makes me picture, with you saying that, in society coming back, the Tarantino movies, Grindhouse,
Mm-hmm.
and Planet Death, I think was the other one, right?
It was Planet Death, and or it was a Death Drive. I forget.
I've screwed it all up now.
Oh, it was Death Proof was the car
Yes.
one. But Planet Terror.
Planet Terror. Yes, that's what it was, where she had the leg that became the gun and everything. That was
Yes, she was the exotic dancer who had a machine gun leg. That's
Yep.
100%.
That is about what I picture in this, and I definitely have to read it now because
It's a hilarious book.
it sounds it. Well, my friend, that was all I had. If there's anything that you feel like I've missed, by all means, shout it out. That you'd like
Um,
to talk about.
you know, uh, I don't have much more. I would like to say, that I wanted to thank all the people who have, bought into the campaign already. I'm so humbled that people seem interested. Um, and I do have a Discord in case people wanted to join that. It's called the Degenerate Wasteland. I'm sure you can find it if you go looking. Um, but no, I really appreciate you giving me the chance to come on here and talk about this, because I love the Morkborg community. I love the the indie games community. Um, I I would love to keep making games, for a long time to come. So I look forward to more of these chats in the future.
As do I, because I hope we keep making games. I thoroughly enjoy talking with you, and I wish you the best of luck in the last 5 days with this. And yeah, folks, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Be sure to jump over to Kickstarter if you haven't already and back Wasteland Degenerates hardcover. The link is in the description. If you enjoyed our chat tonight, drop a like on it and maybe subscribe to the channel. Other than that, folks, have a great night, and We will catch you the next time. Have a good night.
Catch you later.
Do, 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 do.